Hey guys, today with the topic, no contact versus radio silence. I've noticed lately that I'm making less and less videos about it, and since that's actually so my favorite topic. Here is one again. I thought mainly that I have already talked about why you should never ignore your ex, but not yet, which might also speak for an absolute radio silence. Because, yes, there should also be such cases. But they presuppose that you absolutely never want to get back together with your ex. And that is according to experience, especially shortly after a breakup, not the case, or you are not yet so clear how you see the whole thing. We always miss more what we lose than what we have. And the moment of separation has lifted the ex in her value for you. That's when it's a bad move to ignore her forever, because you can't even gauge yet how you'll feel after your grieving period and loss. So still. Right after she breaks up with you, I recommend no contact to all of you to keep your options open. After all, this is about you and not her. Relationships that aren't worth saving in my eyes are always ones you should have ended, and that she did tells me she didn't do anything to warrant ignoring her. Things like throwing bottles and plates at you on her own, for example. But let's say you're already sure you want her out of your life, then you're doing reasonably well, and that's actually the goal that the no contact would have had among other things. Then you don't need all this. Of course, I have a few things to give you for the future and everyone can learn something, but it's nice that you could take the whole thing so easily. Then you can now do everything I would never advise in no contact. Keep chats and messages because you don't care and don't look at it anyway. Delete them on social media. Maybe even block them if you have no desire to ever contact each other again. Sign up for dating sites. Hey, here we go. Which I think a breakup, if a relationship went longer than 3 months, should trigger something in each of us that would basically prevent us from doing that at first. But I think I'm getting lost right now. I don't want to tell you how to feel. If it's like that, fine. You guys on the right, please. And all those who feel bad, off to the left. Oh, what? 99 on the left and only 1 on the right? I'm just making fun of you guys. Honestly, I will never say that there isn't the one guy who can just do that. But even the manliest man will feel a twinge in his chest when a real loved one tells him that's it. Whether he admits it or not, and you owe me absolutely no account. But be honest with yourself. Repression is what only makes it worse and worse inside of you until you don't know who you are yourself and who you want to be. But so much for my experience. Enough about that, now. No contact versus radio silence may seem like one and the same to you, especially at first. Especially if your ex writes some useless crap after you went into no contact, which has nothing to do with the relationship. For example, telling you how their day was after you told them that you don't want to accept anything under a relationship. Should I then reply to them or ignore them? In my opinion, you should clarify what you really want and then go into the no contact. Unambiguously. And even if the two of you don't write a word to each other for 3 months, it's not really ignoring. In my opinion, the no contact doesn't quite live up to its name, as I've said in other videos. It's not really a block, but a shift from your focus to yourself. You are now not giving her your attention or backing her up by listening to her concerns. This is her problem now, and if she wants to solve it this way, then she has to do it on your terms. You make it clear what you want. If it didn't come across right and you were in a radio silence instead of no contact, you would let her continue thinking that and she would just get pissed because you're not responding to her. And that's not a state where she gets curious about what's actually going on with you right now, but one that tells her very clearly that you're not interested in her and you're being childish about it. You don't make contact with her on your own initiative, but when she takes a step towards you, you respond in an adult, friendly but reserved manner. Why cautious? Because you don't want to overreact and you don't have time for someone who kicked you out of his life. You weren't worth enough to him to keep being called partners, and you don't just let yourself downgrade and accept what she throws at you. You are a prize to be earned. If she gives you less, you respond accordingly with less than you used to. Much less. But you respond. Because you are no longer little children who ignore the stupid cow that has knocked the pudding out of their hand. Hence the little digression earlier in, "Oh, I'm doing so well without her." See your real situation and accept it. It's a process, it takes a while, but when that's the case and you see it all clearly as it was and is, then there's no doubt that your attention will have to be earned by her again if she wants it. And yes, the phrase should stay with you in more ways than one. She must also want it again of her own accord, anything else diminishes your value to her in her eyes. And you are destroying yourselves with it anyway. Completely senseless. Let time work for you, both for you and for her. Then you don't have to worry about no contact or radio silence. Just don't allow a knee-jerk reaction and think about what you really want. Do you want this woman back? Then listen very carefully to how no contact works. Whether with me or someone else. Just remember that the no contact has no end, that you determine yourself. But by her reaction the whole thing is ended. And that you have to look at yourself and work on yourself with time. Then you can hardly do anything wrong. But to ignore a person? You just have to turn that around. Put yourself in a completely different situation that has nothing to do with commitment and relationship. How do you feel when your counterpart ignores you? You think to yourself, what an ass. And then you won't care about him either. And that's not much different than with your ex, even though you used to feel that way about each other. You might not be able to imagine it exactly like that now, because you feel that fear. But they are in a completely different phase than you are after the breakup. And clear announcements and action in this direction are the most important thing from your side now. Do not beg, do not negotiate, stand up for yourself and your convictions. Do not give in to the illusion of action. You must let them come to the conclusion themselves that you are the best possible man for them. Take care and see you in the next video.